next week. And then I became more interested, and I went back the third week. And then I came home, and that night they said they didn't want me to go back there ever again. They were hearing about the Mormons, but the Mormons were strange people. So they didn't want me to go back.
Parents?
My parents, yeah. First my mother said she believed it about Joseph Smith, but then she said no, she's heard more things, and I couldn't go back. The more I couldn't go back, guess what I did more?
What?
I prayed more, and I read the Book of Mormon more. And guess what? The more I did that, slowly it was beginning to be true to me. And then I get permission to go to have these discussions. And I could do that. And then, but when they had young women, well, they called it mutual in those days, Mutual Improvement Association. And I wasn't allowed to go to that at all. But I could go to Sunday school for 1 hour. And the lady, my girlfriend's mother, would go pick me up. And she'd leave church early to get me home in time so I wouldn't be in trouble with my parents. I could attend 1 hour on Sunday morning, and I could attend the discussions for a couple more times. And then they wouldn't let me go back to those. And so I had to work. I could go get it. And my parents, I could go, they said I could go hang out in the street corners and do things with my friends who were getting into trouble, but I couldn't go to the Mormon church. And that didn't make sense to me. But that's what they believed and they knew. But I had to wait 2 years before I could be baptized. They wouldn't let me be baptized until I was 18 because they didn't want me to make a mistake. So for me it seemed like a really long time. I went for 2 years like that, and gradually, I never got to where I could go to mutual all the time until I was 18. But then gradually I got to do a few more things. And people were very nice to my parents. They'd come over and meet them and stuff. But through this all, my parents were against the church. My brothers were giving me trouble about the church. They would tease me and they'd blow smoke in my face and say, "Doesn't that smell good? Don't you want it?" And I'm going, "No." But that was the way of life they knew. They would give me trouble, and then it got to be where my friends at school were giving me trouble. I had gotten to be a student body officer, and my friends told me that I was elected because of them, and that if I didn't quit this Mormon church, they would not back me to be in the student council anymore. I liked being in the student council. I loved it. And I believed them, that I was only elected and won the election because of them. And so I really had to find out if this was true or not. And I guess the day that I really admitted and knew that it was true, I came back from lunch, and there in front of we had these stairs, our lockers were upstairs, and my friends were kind of all standing around the stairs, and they weren't going to let me pass to go upstairs to my locker. And they said, "Unless you quit this Mormon nonsense, we're not going to back you in the election, and you know you won't get elected." And I looked at it and I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to not be elected then, because I know the Mormon church is true." It was then when I said that I really knew in my heart that I knew it. And it was very certain to me then. It had been slowly building up until that time. But I had to have a testimony of the gospel, and I had asked Heavenly Father many times and worked for it. I mean, I didn't just ask. I studied and prayed and went to church. I had to find out a lot of times, because I was going against everything I was raised for. And there was one time later on I was kicked out of my family for being Mormon. It didn't last, but they threatened they were going to not have me back. I had to know the church was true. I just want you guys to look in my eyes and know, just 1 minute, I'm telling you the truth. I want you to know that I know this is true. I had to find out the hard way. I had to. My whole life depended on it at that time. Well, I hope that when the time comes when you're going through that, you will also find out for yourselves. Each person has to know for themselves. But I know it's true. And I'm so grateful for my life because of it, and your lives now.